Hi there. Let's talk for a second about stream markers and video highlighting on Twitch. How we can use that for things like RPG shows to make editing much easier if you're not looking to do anything flashy or fancy and you just want to get your VODs up onto YouTube quickly. So, to start, you're going to want to get acquainted with your dashboard. Of course, I've got stuff for the last review time episode up here. But your dashboard will probably be arranged a little differently. What you want to find specifically is this little stream markers panel. It'll look like this when you're offline. When you're online, there will be a little like make marker or place marker button here that you can press. If you have a stream deck from Elgato, there's a button command you can use that will do it directly from the stream deck. But if you don't want to shell out the cash for a stream deck, you just want this, you can use this little panel, and you can even pop it out and it'll become its own little window. So if you don't like having the dashboard open during your stream, you can just pop this little window out before your stream. Make sure you have it somewhere accessible, maybe over by your OBS, something like that. So there's that, and we'll get back to what that does in just a second. So once you have your stream and you've got it all done, you closed it out, you stop streaming, and you're like, okay, I want to get this up on YouTube now. You're gonna want to go over to your video producer here on the left. Go here. They just updated the highlighter, which is part of what I'm going to go over now. And they added some really nice new features. So I don't personally use the highlighter for my VODs. I go through the process. I local record and edit in Premiere and do all that stuff. But that's because there are specific polished things that I want that I can only get out of Premiere. Thanks, Windows. I can only get out of Premiere. But if you literally just like want to export to YouTube and you don't want your breaks in there, or like your starting soon stuff, that kind of mumbo jumbo, if you want to get rid of that, here's how you do that. So you go in to your video producer, you find the video that you want to edit. So here I'm going to use the latest Rio Tom episode. You click highlight and it'll take you into the highlighter. Now I'm going to go ahead and pause this for now. This yellow area here, which I see now that you can't see my mouse, but you can kind of, here, let me just turn that on real quick. This is a very informal tutorial. All right, this yellow area here, this is what will end up in your video, right? And obviously you want the whole thing, right? You want the whole video minus the bits that are boring and full of dead air. So what we're gonna do is there's a way for you to find these points faster, and that's what the markers are for. So we'll get to that in a moment. But for now, what you're gonna want to do is try and find the start of your video, right? And say
technically 2.
Somewhere around here. Oh, that's loud. Sorry about that. Apologize. So like it's a couple seconds after here. This is proof of concept. I don't need to get it exact. So now what we can do is split segment at playhead. Boom. So now we've got multiple segments of video here. We've got this one. See how that lights up? And this one. Ooh, neato. Now what we can do is select this one and say remove selected segment. Boom. That is no longer in our video. Cool. We can chop off the front. We can go toward the end somewhere because I like to do a little closing bit for our shows. Give people time to decompress, freak out in chat, that sort of thing. We can clip it here. I'm not going to be exact. Boom. Get rid of that. And then, you know, we usually take a break at about an hour, so I'm going to guess it's around here. Yeah. So here's where we get fancy. Here's where we get nice and fancy, is we can go to this break. I'm not going to be exact. We'll say here-ish. Cut, and then go a little further. Somewhere around here, and hit cut again. And now this, we remove the selected segment. We can go to the end here. Now here's where the editing bit comes in. We go to the end here and cannot add new segment at playhead. Well, hold on. All right, I figured out why I'm an idiot. You don't need to add a segment here. That just sort of reinstates this part of the video, which is exactly what you don't want. So you go through, you cut out these middle bits, and you get your breaks out, and that will edit this down to just these bits. So if I publish this highlight, boop, and then, you know, go ahead and fiddle around with the stuff for how it's going to display on Twitch. Sure. Once this is published, it will only have those parts of the video that I wanted to keep. So I'm gonna cut here and come back with that once it's done processing here. All right. So once you have pressed go and then stepped away from your computer to make some tea, maybe eat some cookies, pet a cat, you know, the huge. And you come back to your computer and Twitch is like, haha, we're done processing. Here you go. Here's your highlight. One, you no longer have to worry about that video expiring off of your Twitch channel. Hooray, congratulations. It's up in your videos tab forever. Unless, of course, you go and delete it. But if we click watch here, take a look. And remember that I cut it a little poorly, so it doesn't cut directly at the beginning. We'll get to that in a second. We're going to skip ahead. Yeah. So there we go. 1 minute in, which previously was like, I think 8 minutes into the original video. 1 minute in, here we go. We're at the actual show. And if we go about an hour forward, we should see... Ooh, this is going to be hard for me to check. Well, we'll just press play. And I'm going to talk over this. So what we should see here is that the little break that was here is gone, and instead it's gonna cut away. And I think there was like 30 seconds of break that I left in. I personally, if I was doing this to upload to YouTube, I would leave a couple seconds of break on each side of the break, because on the show you're going to introduce the break. Maybe an hour is actually too far in. Honestly, I don't want to go through this process. I'm just going to cut to the end, show you that the end is cut off. Hey, look, the outro. I'm saying some stuff. And I'm saying goodnight. And hey, look. There aren't a bunch of minutes of closing songs. I could probably find the break that I cut out, but I don't want to bother with it. The point is proven. So what I would do is I'd keep a couple seconds, maybe 2 or 3 on each end of the break. Because for viewers, what they're going to see watching this on YouTube is they're going to see you saying, we're going to step away to a break for a couple minutes, blah, 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 you know, whatever break spiel you tend to give your audience. And if it hard cuts from that to something else without like a fade transition or anything like that, which you can't do with this method cannot do fade transitions. If you hard cut there, it will be jarring for them. So I'd leave a couple seconds of your break screen on each end of the break, or just like a couple extra seconds at one end, I suppose. But the smoothest transition will be a couple seconds at each end. That hard cut will happen on the static and or animated break screen, which will be less jarring because it's not going to be people. And then it'll do whatever transition your usual audience gets for you coming back from a break. So that's just my recommendation. So one last big point, though. One last big point. I lied. 2 big points. You're going to want to connect your Twitch account to your YouTube account, which, if I remember correctly, is somewhere in settings and connections, or maybe is there a connections here. It might be like channel connections. You can look it up and find it. But connect your YouTube and your Twitch accounts, because once you have this highlight, you just go here, hit export, fill in some information. I would leave it on private so that you can edit, like adding a thumbnail and whatnot on YouTube before you set it to public and actually publish to your followers' feeds. But you just hit start export and it uploads directly from Twitch to YouTube. You don't need to download the video and then re-upload it to YouTube. It takes way less time this way. Honestly, the upload from Twitch to YouTube is way faster than most internet connections. Unless you have like fiber or something, that might be faster. I don't know. So that's going to save you a lot of time. It's also going to save you a lot of bandwidth. So especially if you're streaming frequently or you're streaming at a high bit rate, if you're a little worried about, or sharing your internet with a bunch of other people, that's another one. If you have like roommates, especially if they're also content creators, if you're worried about hitting that bandwidth cap for your ISP, boom, you don't have to worry about spending bandwidth on downloading and re-uploading video. I'll go into some best practice recommendations in a sec, but you may recall I mentioned this little panel here, stream markers. What do we think these do? Well, if we go into Video Producer, and I don't do this for travel. I'm actually going to delete this video because I don't need this on my channel. I upload to YouTube. I don't do this for my RPG shows because I don't use this method for RPG shows, but I do use this method for my video gaming streams. So if we click on this Prey video, and hit highlight rather, you'll notice there are these markers here, and this is right where I want my first video to start. I was like, okay, I did my intro, I talked to people in chat, all that doesn't need to go on YouTube. So I pressed a little button on my Stream Deck that made a marker. If you don't have a Stream Deck, remember, you can, let me just pop this. You can pop this out, set it to the side somewhere on a secondary monitor, or like right next to wherever you put chat so that you can read it while you're doing stuff. I think you might even be able to do this from mobile, but I'm not certain. There is a chat command that you can use. I think it's just /marker here in the chat window, /marker. I haven't tried that out too much, so I can't vouch for how well that works. But there are multiple methods for making stream markers, and they pop up this marker in your highlighter or your highlight editor. So what you can do is, when you're talking to your cast and you're like, okay, intro's almost done, is everybody ready? Let's hop into going live. Press that marker button on in whatever form you have it, whether it's like a chat command or the pop-out window or a Stream Deck. Just press that button and it'll make a little marker, so finding that beginning point will be a lot easier. Then when you're like, okay, it's time for us to step away to a break, blah 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 blah, we're gonna be gone for a couple minutes, stick around for exciting more bullshit, press that button again and you'll be able to find the beginning of your break super easily. Then after your however many minutes your breaks tend to be, when you're like, okay cast, we got our water, took our pee breaks, pet a cat, that sort of stuff. Are we all good to come back from break? We ready to do this? And everyone says yes. Press that button again, and instantaneously you will have 2 markers showing you what you need to cut out of your highlight, so that process becomes really easy. And you can just, because the markers will be a little off, one, that can actually be kind of helpful. That can just give you that buffer time that I recommend on each end of a break, just by nature of you pressed the button a couple seconds after you went to a break and a couple seconds before you came back from it. But also you can just zoom in here and get it precisely set where you want. But you don't have to search around through your video to find them anymore. They're just there for you. And that will make this process so much faster if you make sure to do those little things during the stream. And I understand it's gonna if you're not used to it, it'll take time to like train yourself into making that part of your break routine, your intro routine, your outro routine. But it will definitely be worth it. This has saved my bacon for my video game streams. I was not editing VODs for my video game streams because I couldn't bring myself to do it. It was like a huge pain in the butt, and like I didn't want to put the end cards on it, and I didn't want to go through the process of like hunkering down my computer with rendering and yada yada yada. Just for video game streams, like for my RPG streams, I like adding the layer of polish and whatnot. Personally, no judgment for those of you that aren't interested in it. But you know, when you're playing 6 to 8 hours of a video game, and especially I started doing this in January when I was playing games, when I was streaming literally every day, I just couldn't keep up with that editing schedule. But this, just reminding myself to make the markers, come in, cut things down. You can also, if you want to cut things into multiple parts for YouTube for some reason, if you prefer not having one big video, you can like, you know, set in point, go here, set out point, boom, we've made a segment. That's this, add a new highlight, and it will automatically start the playhead from here. I already made an out point when I closed the stream. Set end segment, boom, we've got 2 here, publish highlights. It's that easy. It really is that easy. So that's an overview. One last there was one last thing. Yeah, don't save this. There's one last thing I wanted to go over, like a best practices. And I think that might have just been hitting the buttons when you go on breaks. But yeah. So this, oh no. Here we go. Okay. This is not going to save you if you have audio issues, if you have video issues, if you fucked something up during the stream. This is not going to save you there. If you've got horrible audio balancing, it's not going to save you. You should be at all times, unless your computer can't handle it, but at any time you're streaming, especially for RPG shows, you should be doing a local recording in OBS. You absolutely should. So I'm gonna pop out this little controls window here. See, I'm recording this right now, so that I can edit it together in Premiere and, you know, put it up on Discord for y'all to see. But this should be on while this is on at all times. Because if your stream goes down, if your internet cuts out, anything like that, if you know, you accidentally mute audio and you don't notice until like halfway through your show, this has happened to me. I had a huge climactic boss fight where the player audio was muted for that entire hour. If you have stuff like that come up, the highlight cannot save you. Okay? So you should always be local recording. If your internet goes out, especially, a local recording will save you. If Twitch goes down, a local recording will save you. Even if your internet doesn't go down and Twitch fucks up, which happens, a local recording is always recommended. I also recommend, I'm going to pull my mixer over here, and unhide all. I recommend in your settings in OBS that you set a desktop audio and you set a desktop audio 2, you set a mic and a mic 2, and you notice these are actually the same device. That's on purpose. So if we go into advanced audio properties, I have OBS set up, and I'm not going to go deep into how it works because OBS has tons of tutorials and you can Google this. It's not hard. I have this set up so that desktop audio 1 and mic 1 go into track 1, and track 1 outputs to Twitch. Only track 1 outputs to Twitch. All audio on track 1 goes to Twitch. That's it. That's all Twitch is ever getting is track 1. But mic 2 and desktop audio 2 And on some scenes where I have, say, like a second audio device, like I've got a desktop audio for music and a desktop audio for Discord or Zoom, like players talking during a show. Do the double up too. Have one that goes to track 1 and separate the rest onto their own tracks for the recording. You'll need a recording format that supports multiple tracks, blah, blah, blah. Again, Google is your friend. Do this so that Twitch is getting your switchboard here, but you're still recording if something gets fucked up here. Because what you can do, so let me close this, you can right click and hide this secondary, this backup copy basically. Hide this backup copy. And now when you mute, right? Okay, I shouldn't mute the microphone, but when you mute, you only mute the version that's going to Twitch. You mute for the live audience, but you do not mute for the recording, because the recording is still getting, if I unhide all, the recording is still getting this, which is outputting only to track 3, right? It's not outputting to track 1, which goes to Twitch. It's only outputting to track 3, which goes into the recording. So this is still getting recorded. If you forget, if you come back from break and your chat doesn't remind you, or you're not looking at chat and you don't notice, and you don't unmute this, if you are new to streaming and you have intermittent audience participation, right? Like chat doesn't usually talk all that much. This is how it happened to me. I was still new. And you forget to unmute, this will mean that it still shows up in the recording. You can open it up in Premiere or whatever audio or video editing stuff you use. You can open it up, and the YouTube recording at least, or if you just upload it directly to Twitch, the recording will have that content there and you will not have lost it. So that is my big recommendation. This has gone way off scope, honestly. But I hope that this is helpful. And I hope that I explained this. If you have any questions, feel free to just shoot me a message and I'll try and clarify. But yeah, I hope this helped. Good luck.